Hi! So today was the big day. Today was the first appointment at the Limb Centre. Now, the Limb Centre made this appointment with me when I was discharged, or before I was discharged originally. I had tried to find out what actually they do on the first appointment, and I never was quite sure. But it had been suggested to me that if the wound was completely healed, then we might be getting casted for the first prosthetic. So off we went to Dunedin. Now, because it was a Monday morning appointment, we stayed overnight, and the hotel room that we had was the first properly disabled access hotel room I think I've been in. We rocked up at the Limb Centre on Monday morning and got a park right outside. Now, having sat out in the waiting room for a wee while, we were called in and were seen by a prosthesist and a consultant. Now, we had a wee conversation about the history of the leg, about the fact that I'd been in before and all of the dramas that had been gone on with the leg. They asked me where it was up to right now, and they had a look at it and talked about the wound healing and all that sort of thing. And then they said that my leg needed to be in a certain shape in order to be able to fit into a prosthetic leg socket. And because it had not been in a shrinker sock, it wasn't the right shape. Now, what they were going to try was to stick a shrinker sock on, which had come a few days before, and then figure of eight bandage it, which they don't normally do, but that gives added compression. And they'd stopped doing that when a while back, when they'd been given amputees the job to do at home, the figure of eight bandaging, and they've been doing it wrong and giving themselves a tourniquet. So it has been done away with. But he put the shrinker sock on, put the bandage on, told me to go to the coffee shop for half an hour. Now, in that time, oh my gosh, the pressure on the leg was just intense, because it's had 5.5 weeks of nothing at all on it, and the calf muscle and its wraparound has just atrophied in that time and splayed out. Now, I know that this needed to be done, and it wasn't anything I couldn't cope with, but we had to see whether it formed it into the correct shape quickly enough in order to be able to then go ahead with the casting for the prosthetic today. Now, I didn't expect that, because I thought the mess up with the district nurse and all of that nonsense would have put this back and we'd just be making a plan. So off I went to the coffee shop, and then I came back, and here's what happened. So yes, the leg had responded well enough, and they were able to then go ahead with the casting. Now, how damned excited was I? I can't even tell you how excited. There's no words for it. So he took the figure eight bandages off and said that it was looking like a good shape, and they were going to go ahead with the casting. They put on an extra layer over the top of that, which is like a jelly type layer underneath, and he put a cling wrap over that, and then plaster of Paris, like they used to do with the old plaster casts back in the 80s, and let it to dry, and then pulled it off. And that was it. So what they do then is they fill it with plaster of Paris, and then that gives you the reverse mold. Then they make a plastic socket out of it and put a basic rod and foot on the end. And the reason that they do it just basic like this is because the first fitting is never ever right. So then they bring you back, and they fit you with it, and you walk up and down, do a bit of physio, and then they can heat it up and alter it right there on the spot. Then when they've worked on that for a wee while, then you get they make the actual leg. So what does all that mean? That means that I get an appointment next week, and I'll be standing on my first prosthetic next week. Now, how exciting is that? That will be 6-7 weeks post amputation. I'll be standing back up again on my first prosthetic leg. Now, it is a trial leg. Not totally sure whether I'll actually be able to take it home. In fact, I probably won't be able to. That's what I'm betting on, and anything else is a bonus. And then away we go. So I could well get a leg for Christmas. Now, I went up there today thinking that everything would have been put back by the fact that all of the stuff had happened recently. And because the leg has been so problematic, I have just gone for the pessimistic approach. But it makes me so excited that next week I could be back on a leg again. But that's not all. Hang on. Just let me show you what the leg looks like now. This is a stump shrinker. And it's a compression sock that shrinks into that cone shape that will fit nicely into prosthetic limb. And I spoke to the consultant. We had talk about wheelchairs. Now I'm sick of wheelchairs and sick of it all. And they had a conversation about sometimes they have to pull people back and rein their enthusiasm in, because otherwise they could push on too fast and end up with injuries and busted open. And I appreciate all that. But here's the other good news. Now, we had a conversation about crutches, and he was talking about the balance of the crutches and the fact that you need to get used to the balance again. I said I've been on them a year, and yes, we know there's a 4.5 kilos missing off this side now, and I've been using them around the house and blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what the good news is? I have now got the okay from the consultant at Prosthetic Limb Centre to use crutches. Yeah! Now, obviously, I'm not going to walk 10k on crutches, and I've got to watch out for surfaces, so slippy tiles. There's no way I would walk on crutches with one foot on slippy tiles, sheer surfaces, that sort of thing. But that gives me the go-ahead to get up walking around on the crutches, get used to the balance, because here's the other thing. I asked the guy whether the prosthetic limb was the same weight as my actual leg. Now, Mark and I have been puzzling over this, and he said, now look, if the physiotherapist says that it takes you 4 times more energy to walk with a prosthetic leg, surely they'd make it lighter, would they not? So I asked the question, and yes, they do. Because he said if the limb was as heavy as the other one, it would be like a great big pendulum weight swinging off your knee, basically. So they need to make the leg as light as they possibly can. So my prosthetic leg should weigh lighter than the actual leg that was chopped off. So there's the answer to that question, but I'm still going to weigh it when I get it and see if it's true. So there we go. So what that tells me is that even though I'm going to be standing back on 2 feet, my balance and my center of balance is still going to be different to how it was when I had my actual 2 feet, because the weight distribution is still going to be different. And that means that I'm going to have to practice without the leg and 2 crutches, practice again with the leg to get the balance again, because my balance and centre of balance is never ever going to be the same as it was before, even when I've got 2 feet back on. So next week I've got to go back to the limb centre, and I've got to take my left shoe and my left sock. So I can't even tell you how excited I am. And it's an overnight stay, and we're going to do a couple of days of physio. So wait for it, because I can't wait to show you that. That is going to be such a momentous moment. One thing I do feel quite grateful for, now when I said this, the surgeon was like, you're grateful? I'm not grateful my leg got chopped off, but they were talking about phantom pain, phantom sensation, said that is the biggest challenge they have when people are fitted for prosthetics. The fact that I've got no phantom sensation, I've never had phantom pain, and I don't have any hypersensitivity anywhere on the stump. There we go, Liz, I said it, stump. Anywhere on the residual limb, that means that I'm quite in a league of my own. That is very, very rare, and I'm not on any pain medication either, which I also appreciate is rare, because I was talking to some amputees at the weekend. So, although the whole thing is pretty shit, my recovery from it so far, I'm feeling quite grateful that it has been so good. And I've also, from the prosthetist, been given the encouragement and green light to carry on with my one-legged cycling. Now, he asked me how was it, I said bloody hard, but if it's all that I'm allowed to do at the moment, then yes, we're going to carry on with it, because really it would not make sense at the moment till that last little bit of the open stitch has actually fully healed, because I appreciate the whole risk of infection and all that jazz. But if I've got something else like cycling that I can work on in the meanwhile, that makes me feel slightly better. So I'm going to actually be able to wear my next t-shirt next week, the one I haven't worn yet at all, which says part woman, part machine. Ha ha! So they are quite pleased that I'm one of those sort of cheerful, have a joke type people, and I can't wait for that date to come through next week. I'm not sure what date it is yet. They're going to call me in the next day or 2, but hopefully within a couple of weeks, I might well be standing up on 2 feet and swimming. What? How good would that be? So cross some more fingers for me, and I'll see you again soon.